Hello dear students, welcome to the next session of session of history. Today we are on chapter number 1, what, where, how and when. History itself, it means past. So now at present, today if you remember something, whatever happened, whatever things that happened with you, you can at least tell others, isn't it? And even yesterday also, if whatever things you have done or discussed with your friends, with your relatives, and with others also, that also you can recall. But what about some 10 years back, or say some 100 years back? If a people tells you, if people ask you that, tell me what happened in the last 100 years ago, so will you be able to tell them? No, you will not be able to tell them, because you don't know exactly what happened some 100 years back. So that's why our history, a subject is made so that everything, whatever we are at present, it is the influence from the past. So today we are going to learn in this chapter that what happened in the past, and where it took place, how did it happen, and when did it happen. So everything we are going to learn in this chapter. Now, Rashida's question. Rashida sat reading the newspaper. Suddenly, her eyes fell on a small headline. 100 years ago. How she wondered, could anyone know what had happened so many years ago? So, some 100 years ago, how? The question is how? She wondered how people can know what had happened actually some 100 years ago. We will not be able to find out, but with the help of the history, we will be able to find out like what happened some 100 years ago, or some 2000 years ago, some 3000 years ago. How did human being started living in a settled life? How did human being started trading, or how did human being started cultivating crops? So everything we will know about from the history. Now, finding out what happened. Yesterday, you could listen to the radio, watch television, read a newspaper. So yesterday, you can listen to a radio, you can watch television, you can read a newspaper. Last year, ask somebody who remembers. So yesterday, if people ask you anything, you can easily recall. But if the same person asks you about last year, maybe something you will recall, but not everything, because in a year we have 12 months, isn't it? 365 days we have in a year, and 366 days in a leap year. So maybe like we can remember only one, I'll just take approximately 10 things you can remember about last year, like important festivals, how you have celebrated the festivals, then the important events, what had happened. So you can at least recall and tell them, isn't it? But what about long ago? Let us see how it can be done. So some long years ago, some 100 years back, some 2000 years back, if people ask you what happened, can you recall? Your answer will be no, and even my answer will be no, because I don't know what happened some 100 years back, some 2000 years back, some 3000 years back. So I will not be able to recall. So let us see how it can be done. What can we know about the past? From the past, what are the things we can know about? There are several things we can find out: what people ate, the kinds of clothes they wore, the houses in which they lived. We can find out about the lives of hunters, herders, farmers, rulers, merchants, priests, craftspersons, artists, musicians, and scientists. So from the past, we can know all these things. How people started eating, then how they started hunting, then also how they gathered the food, where they started living, where was the first settlement of the human being started, then who were the priests, who were the artisans, who were the musicians. Everything we can know about the past. See, we are getting the teachers are also like, it is not in the present, it was formed some thousands years back, isn't it? And musicians, then artisans, as well as the hunters, the farmers, they were also formed some thousands years back. So from that history only, still we are following the traditions, isn't it? We can also find out about the games children played, the stories they heard, the plays they saw, the songs they sang. So the games, see, whatever games we know, obviously it is taught by our parents, and our parents are being taught by their parents. Then their parents are being taught by their parents, isn't it? So it is a long process. Human being, from the forefathers only, from the ancient time, when early humans were there, from there all this have started. The games also, from the ancient time it has started, and still we play those games like Ludo, 7 stones, isn't it? 5 stones, all this we play still now. Then Gilli Danda, after that cricket also, isn't it? The stories they heard, and even stories also, stories about the king, about the queens, then about the war also, about the early humans also. Everything is from the past only. The plays they saw, the songs they sang, even the songs, even the plays also. Everything we learn from the past. Where did people live? Now the main thing is, where did people lived in the past? Find the river Narmada on the map. So first of all, find the river Narmada. So river Narmada is here. Here is near river Narmada. People have lived along the banks of these rivers for several 100,000 years. For several thousands years, 100,000 years back, people started living in the banks of the river. See, river Narmada, then Indus river, then we have Satlaj river, Mahanadi river, Godavari, Satpura, Tapti. All this river, all these banks in these banks of this river, people started living. Okay, they started living from the banks of near the banks of the river. Why? Because the early human in the ancient time, they felt that if they settle near the river banks, then they will be able to drink water. Because nowadays we get water from the tanks, we get water from the pipelines, we get water from the supplies from the wells also, by digging the well, isn't it? But in earlier days there was no wells, there were no tanks, and there were no pipelines. So people has to settle near the banks of the river, and from there onwards they also started getting foods near the river, because near the river they found many different trees, and from the trees they started eating the seeds of the plant. So that's why they thought that instead of going here and there, why not to settle near the banks of the river? Because when they settled near the banks of the river, then they discovered that they can plant trees from where they can get the food. So that's why, this is the reason why people started living, the ancient people, the early human, they started living near the banks of the river. Some of the earliest people who lived here were skilled gatherers. Skilled gatherers means the people, the early humans who are very expert in hunting or gathering the food. They knew about the vast wealth of plants in the surrounding forest and collected roots, fruits and other forest produce for their food. So the gatherers, the ancient people, after they started living near the banks of the river, they discovered that from the plants they can get food, and that's why they started living near the banks of the river. They collected the roots, then they collected the fruits also. They started they also started producing the food by themselves. They also hunted animals. Then they started hunting the animals. Now find out the Suleiman and Kithar hills to the northwest. This is the north, so northwest will be this. So where is the Kithar? Kithar is here and Suleiman is here. This is India's map, isn't it? And what is the neighboring country on the west of India? It is Pakistan. Pakistan. So in Pakistan, Kithar hills and Suleiman hills are there. Is okay. See, in the history, people in the past, people did not divide the countries. They know only a land. This is a land. From this land to that land we have to go. We have to cross the mountain. We have to cross the river and go to the other part of the land. They were not aware of the places. So Pakistan, before it was not Pakistan, it was a land only. So Kithar, now we know that the neighboring country of India towards the west is Pakistan. So now this Kithar hill and Suleiman hill is in here in the Pakistan, west of Pakistan. Some of the areas where women and men first began to grow crops such as wheat and barley about 8,000 years ago are located here. So some 8,000 years ago, people, they started living in these hills, this Kithar and Suleiman hills, and here they started, the men and women, they started growing crops such as wheat and barley. People also began rearing animals like sheep, goat and cattle and lived in villages. So now, when they started cultivating the crops, growing the crops, wheat and barley, some 8,000 years ago, they also started keeping the animals, rearing animals like sheep, goat and cattle rearing. Okay, for the cultivation of the field, they started keeping these animals. And they formed a village. Slowly, they started forming a village. Locate the Garo hills to the northeast and the Vindhyas in central India. Now the Garo hills in the northeast. This is north, so the directions of east will be northeast. So Garo hill is here. Okay, Garo hill is here. It is in the state of Meghalaya. So Garo hill in the northeast and Vindhyas in the central India. This is Vindhyas. Okay, Vindhyas range in the central India. Now what happened in this area? These were some of the other areas where agriculture developed. So after they started growing crops in Kithar and Suleiman hills, then the next step they moved to Garo hills and then on the Vindhyas ranges. Now here also they started doing the agriculture. They developed the agriculture, started growing crops and also started rearing animals. The places where rice was first grown are to the north of the Vindhyas. So north of the Vindhyas means here. Okay, this area we know the Punjab, Haryana. So north of the Vindhyas hill, they started growing rice. Trace the river Indus and its tributaries. So Indus river, where is Indus river? Here. Okay, Indus river. Now from here it's the tributaries has been started. Tributaries means small rivers which join with the main river. So this is the Indus river, and from here these small rivers like Jhelum, and then Chanti and Ravi, then Beas, Satluj, all these tributaries started joining with the Indus river. About 7,000 years ago, some of the earliest cities flourished on the banks of this river. Now, some 4,000 years ago, some cities it started flourishing on these banks of the river. So now see people, the ancient people, they don't sit in one place. They move to different places. Okay. They gather foods and they keep on expeditions, means they keep on experimenting, then they keep on discovering. So this is the reason why people of the ancient time they kept on moving. Now they have started living near the Indus river, and they also started making the cities, then to small cities near the banks of this river and tributaries. Later, about 2005 years ago, cities developed on the banks of the Ganga and its tributaries and along the sea coast. So now river Ganga is here. Now with river Ganga also many tributaries, small rivers are there. Okay, small rivers are there, and this is the mouth of the river Ganga and Brahmaputra. Okay, they drain in the Bay of Bengal. So all the tributaries, small rivers, they joined the river Ganga, and then near the river Ganga, small cities they started developing. Look at the Ganga and its tributary called the Sun. Now the Sun is here, the tributary of Ganga, it is here. In ancient times, the area along these rivers to the south of the Ganga was known as Magadha. In ancient times, the area along these rivers to the south of the Ganga was known as Magadha. So, the south of the Ganga means here. Here, okay, Magadha. Magadha was here. Now, lying in the state of Bihar. Now, this part is known as Bihar. So, the Magadha was ruled by a very powerful king and set up a large kingdoms. Then this Magadha, the king, he started conquering the other parts of India, and then he started settling there. Okay. Throughout, people traveled from one part of the subcontinent to another. Now, what is subcontinent? We know that we have 7 continents, but now what is the subcontinent? See, in the ancient time, people were not aware of continents, like they were not aware of the borders, the country borders, they were not aware. After later on, when the modern period has started, India became a separate country. Then along with India, all the other countries, all the neighboring countries also were separated from India. But during the ancient time, subcontinent means the Pakistan, then Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar, all these were subcontinent. The ancient people, the early human, they traveled from Pakistan to the parts of India, then to the parts of Bhutan, then to the parts of Myanmar, then to the parts of Nepal. Okay, because they were not aware of the borders. They only know to gather foods and where they can form the villages, and they can take over the places. So in this this is the reason that why in the ancient time it is known as subcontinent. The hills and high mountains including the Himalayas. Now where is Himalayas? Here. Deserts here, desert, Thar desert, rivers, all these are rivers which is in blue color. And seas are Bay of Bengal, Arabian Sea. Seas made journeys dangerous at times but never possible. See, people in the ancient time, they traveled from one country to another by crossing the mountains, by crossing the rivers, by crossing the seas like Bay of Bengal, like Arabian Sea. They used to cross all this, but it was very dangerous, but still it was not impossible for them. They were not afraid of crossing these countries, the rivers, the mount. They were not afraid of crossing by the river through the mountain. Okay, so it was not it was not impossible for them. It was no doubt very dangerous, but it was not impossible for them. So man and woman moved in search of livelihood. Now, in search of livelihood means to earn a living, to gather the foods, to start for starting the agriculture, then for settling up the village. People started moving from one place, from one subcontinent to the another in search of livelihood, so as to escape from natural disasters like flood or droughts. Now, the main point is why people move from one place to another. The one example is because of natural calamities like drought or floods. When people started living near the Indus River, or you can say when they started living near the Ganga, the river Ganga, then whenever they see there is a flood or dry in the land, so what they did, they traveled from this place to another place, miles and miles they traveled and settled, and wherever they settled they formed a village, they formed into cities. So this is the reason, okay, by due to flood, due to drought, also due to earthquake also. Now let us take the example of Mohenjo-daro. Mohenjo-daro is, I think you might have seen a movie where like Hrithik Roshan is there. Okay, it was about the past, about the history. Now there also, when there was a flood, people, they started living near the Indus River. Then from the Indus River they shifted due to the flood. When flood occurred, they shifted from there to the other place. So this is also the reason. Flood and drought is also the reason for the movement of the ancient people. Sometimes man marched in armies conquering other lands. So conquering other lands also. Like Magadha, if we talk about the king of Magadha, what he did after he conquered the land in the west. He took his army, he took his family, and then he started living here. He left the place. Okay, it was his place, but nobody used to be there. Then the kings, when they conquered the world, they moved from one place to the conquering land where they have won the land. So this was also the reason why people in ancient time moved from one place to another. Now, besides, merchants traveled with caravans or ships carrying valuable goods from place to place. Now, merchants, for the trading purpose also, the ancient people, they started moving from place to place, and religious teacher walked from villages to villages, town to town, stopping to offer instructions and advice on the way. Now religious teachers, gurus, what they did, they started moving to village, town to town, and started preaching about the religion, and then started teaching about the culture, that instructed them, advised them on the education. Okay, and this was also the reason why people moved. Finally, some people perhaps traveled driven by a spirit of adventure, wanting to discover new and exciting places. Now, for adventure also, for discovery also, they started moving from place to place. All this led to the sharing of ideas between people. Now, this is the reason. Now, what we know about the past, how the Indus, who started living in the Indus river, who started living in the Ganga, from where we got this fruit, from where we got this, from where the first rice was, in which place the rice was first grown. So it was because of the ancient people. Because of them, now we can easily settle from one place to another, and then we can cultivate the crops. We can also discover. We go for new inventions of things, new ideas. Why do people travel nowadays? Now, in ancient time, we know that people traveled for discovering new things, for cultivating crops. Then, due to flood and drought, also people of ancient time, they traveled from one place to another. Now, what is the reason in today also, in present also, why people are traveling from one place to another? Look at map 1 once more. So one more time you look at the map, and then hills, mountains and seas form the natural frontiers of the subcontinent. Now hills, the Kithar Hills, the Suleiman Hills, the mountains, the Himalayan mountains, rivers, Ganga, Indus, then the ranges, Vindhyas. Then also the subcontinents. Subcontinents are the Pakistan, Bhutan, Nepal, then Myanmar. All these are subcontinents. So this is the reason now also why we travel. The one more reason is that we travel to the subcontinent of this part for the trading business. While it was difficult to cross these frontiers, those who wanted could and did scale the mountains and cross the seas. People from across the frontiers also came into the subcontinent and settled here. This movement of people enriched our cultural traditions. People have shared new ways of carving stone, composing music, and even cooking food over several hundreds of years. Now, because of the ancient people, still people at present, they travel from place to place. They go and preaching about their religion. They go for giving advices. They go for trading business. Then they go for discoveries of a place. So this is at present also, this is a reason why people still travel from one place to another. Names of the land. Two of the words we often use for a country are India and Bharat. Now, how India and Bharat came known as by this name. So there is also a history behind the name India and Bharat. The word India comes from the Indus, called Sindhu in Sanskrit. So Indus, we know the Indus river. So the people who settled near the Indus river in the northwest, they actually gave the name India. Find Iran and Greece in your atlas. So you have to find the Iran and Greece in your atlas. Atlas means a book of map. The Iranians and the Greeks who came through the northwest about 2005 years ago and were familiar with the Indus call it the Hindus or the Indus. And the land to the east of the river was called India. So how we got the name India? The Iranians and the Greeks who used to live in the northwest part of India, and like from there the people who used to stay near the Indus river, so there they used to call them as Hindus or Indus, because the Iranians and the Greeks they can't pronounce the name India, so that's why they call Hindus or Indus, and from there the name India has came into existence. Then the name Bharata was used for a group of people who lived in the northwest and who are mentioned in the Rig Veda, the earliest composition in Sanskrit. So Bharata came from the Rig Veda, which is the Bharata from the Sanskrit and the Veda. The name Bharata came into existence. Later it was used for the country. Now we know India as Bharat. Bharat from the Sanskrit word. Finding out about the past. Now how can people find out about the past? It's not that if you go to a certain place, then easily you will be able to find out about the past, like what happened some 2000 years back, some 1000 years back. No, it needs a study. Through the study only, we can find out about the past, about the history. There are several ways of finding out about the past. One is to search for and read books that were written long ago. Now how we know about the past? By reading the book, isn't it? And how it is written? It is written by hand. So by reading the books, we know about the past. We know about the poems. We know about the songs, isn't it? It is all written by hand. And about the mythology, like about Ramayana, about Mahabharata, about gods also. How we know about them? It is all because of the books. By reading books only, we come to know. These are called manuscript because these were written by hand. So the past. How we know about the past, from where we know about the past. It is a book which is named as manuscript. Through the manuscript, we can know about the past, and it is written by hand. And this manuscript, they used to form into a book. And where they used to write, like in ancient time, people were not aware of the papers, isn't it? So where they used to write? They used to write on the palm leaf, the leaves of the palm tree. They used to take the leaf, they used to dry the leaf and then write on that leaf, and after that they convert it into books. These were usually written on palm leaf or on the specially prepared bark of a tree known as birch, which grown in the Himalayas. So one used to write on the palm tree, and second on the bark of a tree known as birch tree, which is where we can find in the Himalayan region. Over the years, many manuscripts were eaten away by insects. Some were destroyed, but many have survived, often preserved in temples and monasteries. So in temples we can go and read about our gods. We can know about the songs, we can know about the mantras. And monasteries means in the Buddha's temple. So there also you will find the book of the manuscripts in the monasteries. These books dealt with all kinds of subjects. Now what used to be written on this manuscript? It was about the subjects, religious belief and practices, the lives of king, medicines and science. We know that ancient time people used to travel from one place to another for many reasons. For cultivating, growing the crops, for discovering, for invention. Then they used to go to the forest in search of the wood, then in search of the plants through which they can discover the medicines. So all these discoveries, about the medicines, about the science, about the religious beliefs, and what we have to practice in our religion, about a culture, how to practice, everything is written on this manuscript. About the subjects also. Subjects are all this: religious belief, practice, the lives of king, medicines and science. Besides, there were epics, poems, plays. Many of these were written in Sanskrit. Others were in Prakrit languages used by ordinary people and Tamil. We know that the oldest language is Sanskrit and Tamil. So all these manuscripts about the kings, about the medicine, about the discoveries, about the religious practice, everything was written either on Sanskrit or in Tamil. And then Prakrit, the language which ordinary people used to have for conversation. We can also study inscriptions. Now, what is inscription? It is also a written document, but where it used to be written, let us see. These are written on relatively hard surfaces such as stone or metal. Now, inscriptions are also written document, but now these writtens are to be done on the hard substances like stone or metal. And we know that if we write something on the hard substance, it will not get vanished unless and until we use our physical strength. Sometimes kings got their orders inscribed so that people could see, read and obey them. There are other kinds of inscriptions as well, where man and woman, including kings and queens, recorded what they did. For example, kings often kept records of victories in battle. Now, when the kings used to go to the battle, after they conquered the land, what they used to do, they used to write about the conquering land on the substance, hard substance, either on the stone or on a metal substance, so that people can read and find out. Can you think of the advantages of writing on a hard substance? Of course, if we write on the hard substance, it will not get vanished and people can read. But do you think that people like us, we can read about the past from the stones? Let us see whether we can read or not. And what could have been the difficulties? There are also some difficulties. There were many other things that were made and used in the past. Those who study these objects are called archaeologists. So everybody cannot read the written format on the hard substance because they were either written on Sanskrit, Prakrit means the ordinary language of the people, or in Tamil. So if we don't know this language, then how can we read? So it is very difficult for us to read. But the people who takes up the subject of archaeology, they can easily read these writings of the history of the past. So there is a subject of archaeology where people read about the past. They study the remains of buildings made of stone and bricks, paintings and sculpture. They also explore and excavate, means dig under the surface of the earth to find tools, weapons, pots, pans, ornaments and coins. So the archaeologists, how they read from the remainings of buildings made of bricks and stone. Then also they read by seeing the paintings and sculptures made on the temples, made on the king's palace. Then they also explore. They also move from place to place for the discovery, and also they dig the earth's surface to find the remaining of the tools or ornaments, or you can say pans, or you can say weapons. So from there also they start reading about the past. Some of these objects may be made of stone, others of bone, baked clay or metal. Objects that are made of hard, imperishable substances usually survive for a long time. Archaeologists also look for bones of animals, birds and fish to find out what people ate in the past. So the archaeology, they also look for the bones of the animals, then birds and also about fish, to know that in the earlier days, in the ancient time, what people used to eat. Plant remains survive far more rarely. If seeds of grains or pieces of wood have been burnt, they survive in a charred form. So if the pieces of wood are burnt or gray, or if you see the seeds of grain are burnt, we can see the ashes, isn't it? From that also the archaeologists can find out about the past. Do you think cloth is found frequently by archaeologists? So think. Historians, that is, scholars who study the past, often use the word source. So the historians means the people who study about the past. They often use the word source, means information, to refer to the information found from manuscripts, inscriptions, and archaeology. Once sources are found, learning about the past becomes an adventure. Like if you see, example, if you see this pot, then you will be anxious, you will be curious to know more about the pot, to know more about the pot, from where it has come, how did it come, what are the paintings is about, what messages the paintings will give. From one point to another, you will keep on finding out, and this will turn into adventurous findings. You will find it more interesting. The deeper you study about a thing, the more interesting it will become. So historians and archaeologists are like detectives who use all the sources like clues to find out about our past. One past or many? Do you think we have only one past, or we have lots and lots of past? Did you notice the title of this book, Our Past? We have used the word past in plural to draw attention to the fact that the past was different for different groups of people. Now, it is not past, but it is past. Means we have many past. We not only have only one past, but we have many pasts. It differs from people to people. Then it differs from farmers. It differs from discoveries of the people. It differs from the inventions of the people, from the religious, from the cultural practice of the people. How the culture came into begin. How the religions came into begin, how we started agriculture, who were the farmers, how did the farmers came into begin. So we have many past. For example, the lives of herders or farmers were different from those of kings and queens. The lives of merchants were different from those of craftspersons, and so on. Also, as is true, even today, people follow different practices and customs in different parts of the country. For example, today most people living in the Andaman Islands get their own food by fishing, hunting, and collecting forest produce. By contrast, most people living in cities depend on others for supplies of food. Differences such as this existed in the past as well. So ancient people traveled from forest to forest in search of food. They were known as hunter-gatherers, hunting gatherers. Then there were also people who settled near the Indus River and formed cities. Then there were also people who preach about the religion, the religious teachers. So here in the present situation also, we can see that in the Andaman Island, people still hunt animals and then collect the forest products. Then in cities, what we saw that people settle and then they go to offices for jobs, isn't it? They do different professions. So these all are from the existence of the past. Besides, there is another kind of difference. We know a great deal about kings and the battles they fought because they kept records of their victories. Generally, ordinary people such as hunters, fishing folk, gatherers farmers or herders did not keep records of what they did. While archaeology helps us to find out about their lives, there is much that remains unknown. So this is not only the past, there are many things we are not aware of. So still the archaeologists, they keep on searching and gives us information about the past through the books. Now what do dates mean? If somebody asks you the date, you will probably mention the day, month and year. 2000 and something. These years are counted from the date generally assigned to the birth of Jesus Christ, the founder of Christianity. So 2000 means 2000 years after the birth of Jesus Christ. When we say 2000, it means before the birth of Jesus Christ, BC. Okay, before Christ. All dates before the birth of Christ are counted backwards and usually have the letters BC. So 2000 BC means backward, before Christ. And in this book also we will refer to the dates going back from the present using 2000 as our starting point. So we will be using 2000, that is before Christ, in this book for referring to the dates. Now this was about the chapter. I hope so you have understood that how, where, when and what led to the history to the past, how people gathered the food, from where people started living, how people started moving from one place to another. Then also how we came to know about the past, through which we came to know about the past. So this was all about the chapter. Next time we will meet with a new and fresh topic. Till then, everybody, take care of yourself and thank you so much.